Planetary Defense Commander, Star-Lord, New Thor 7, the T, and I thought I would come on live to hang out with y'all tonight and ask the question, how wild will November get? Now, I would like to take a mere moment to remind you that this is THORnews. We talk about mythological stuff, we talk about science fiction-y stuff, we talk about prophecies, we talk about predictions, we talk about imaginations, we talk about movies. And so almost never are you and I's ideas or thoughts going to super align on every single thing that's out there. For example, I'm a Norse Christian Jedi. As far as I know, I'm the only Norse Christian Jedi I've ever met. And as Planetary Defense Commander, I support everyone on Earth's right to believe in whatever their religion is. But that I would like everyone to have a right to life, love, and liberty, and to have fun on Earth. And so I draw from a giant eclectic empirical data set that I've gone through my entire life. I wasn't always trapped in a damn foxhole making hundreds, if not thousands, of videos. I used to go out into the world and adventure amongst you. And hopefully those days will return. What I'm trying to say is that, like, okay, as a Christian, I totally believe in, like, there was a point where science and religion kind of did what they could to put the kibosh on those who are spiritual and seeking, having questions, looking for answers, that they kind of forced it out. Like if you talk about the sun, you get accused of being a sun worshiper. Or if you talk about the planets and astrology, you get accused of being like a devil worshiper. Like that both sides have tried to make religion and science is like an offshoot of a corporation. And remember, the Catholic Church is the first corporation ever. Oh man. And so what I'm saying is you can kind of tell that throughout history, up until now, they kind of control what people believe. Would they go out of their way to pigeonhole people into specific beliefs? So what I'm trying to say here is that over the last few years, I definitely believe that all the planets in the sky have their own energies. Like Jupiter has its own energy, and Saturn has its own energy, and Venus has its own energy, and Mars has its own energy, and Mercury has its own energy. And yeah, Pluto. They talked about Pluto before they found it forever, and then they found Pluto. Do you know how cool and crazy that is? It's pretty cool and crazy. So the point that I am slowly building up to here is that I watch some astrologers, and some of them are, I believe, are good and have made consistent predictions again and again and again and again and again and again and again on stuff. And so one thing that surprised me is that across the board, there were a lot of astrologers who said November will be the worst month of the year. And I was like, what? What? Now, I don't necessarily, I'm going to prepare as best I can like that is true, but I don't necessarily know if I agree with that. Because in my belief, at the middle of the 5 Eris square Pluto points came around, like the peak of that shit came around January and February of 2021. And at the same time, you had that weird crossover from one president to the next. You had the like civil war spark up a little with the January 6th insurrection. You had like 4,400 people dying at the peak of the coronavirus. Another thing, it was astrology that pointed out that, like, hey man, you're going to get Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto all together in a row almost in this period of time. And so people were warning for decades before this that, like, whenever that happens, it's a very rare occasion. And then no matter what, just having Saturn and Pluto cross over each other is always a big deal. But to have all three, like Pluto has a 248 or 6 year orbit, Saturn has, I think, a 36-year orbit, and then Jupiter has like a 12-year orbit. So to have all those orbits kind of line up together, it's pretty rare. But everybody, like if you look back at when the 1918 Spanish flu happened, you had the Saturn Pluto crossover, and Jupiter was kind of in the same area. So that's why, like, I've been thinking, I'm hoping, and sometimes I get a bit too optimistic, I'm hoping that the winter was the worst of what we will encounter as far as all things that go in 2021. But a lot of other people are saying that, hey, no, November is going to be the worst. One, you have Mars finally making an appearance in the sky again, slowly. I don't know if you know this, but like the planets go around the sun as far as we know. And so when they're behind the sun, we can't see them on Earth. But then when they get over here, we can see them. And so we've been seeing Jupiter, Saturn, and Venus nightly in the sky lately. But Mars has been behind the sun. Well, Mars is coming roaring back. And then, so Mars coming roaring back as Scorpio is one of the things that is pointed out. The other thing is that, like, this is Scorpio season, which happens once every year for a month. And, everybody loves scorpions. But the big thing that they've talked about is on this new moon, which happens on the 4th of November, though for the USA, I believe it happens at 2:45 a.m. on the 5th. And so I believe the Jewish lunar calendar, it's always been they've always gone by the lunar calendar. That, like, the phases of the moon have meant many things to many people for a long time. That, like, you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so that weird cycle of the moon where it goes to where you can't see it at all, and then it's like half lit, and then it's full. Like, and then sometimes you get eclipses, which, oh yeah, so this new moon, everybody's been pointing like, okay, on the 4th/5th, that's going to be a big deal. So we're watching out, like, hey, let's see if we notice any big energetic shifts around the end of the 4th or on the 5th. So that's one of the things we're doing. And then it's like, before a new moon starts, you have what is a dark moon, to where you can't see the moon. And that is kind of all the releasing of all, or the culmination of all the crap that you encountered over the last month, if you're following all the theories or whatever. And I may misspeak sometimes. We're all prone to it. Was it talking about? Oh yeah, so something is like Mars squaring Uranus or some shit. There's a Uranian conjunction, and so there could be big surprises for this new moon. But it is still like an undercard player. On the 10th, they have talked about there is going to be a Mars square with Saturn. Well, Mars likes to fight and is very competitive. And Saturn is like a stickler for the rules. Saturn is like lockdowns. Saturn is like jail. Saturn is like your drill sergeant. Saturn is control freak. Saturn is like governments. And so you're going to get like a clash of energy. Suppose you're going to get a big clash of energy around the 10th. So that is another reason to be like, oh, November will be fascinating. Oh, and any type of Uranian energy always seems to, in the last year, seems to equal some type of power supply disruption or food chain supply chain disruption. And it's definitely been amazing to just watch how shitty our supply grids are, our power grids, like supply chain power grids, that just somehow the more money that is printed in dollars and crypto, the worse shit that's supposed to work gets. like the basic things that somehow civilization was pretty good at for 100 years, all of a sudden over the last 4 years, we just forgot how to figure out how to keep the power on. We forgot how to keep things running smoothly. We forgot how to improve on things. As another thing that like look at that like in if I don't know how old you are, but in the early 2000s, in the 1980s, 1990s, 2000, 2010, people were like solar power, solar power, solar power. And now like nobody fucking talks about solar power anymore. Solar power is like not an option. It's not on the table. It's like all still petroleum 100% or natural gas or coal. Although China is making a big push for nuclear power, somehow all of science and corporations have given up on the idea of, powering everything with sunlight, which could be done, by the way. That's another crazy thing, man. The one thing about Elon was that he just, at some point, I've always made fun of the fact that it's dangerous to make fun of the richest man on the planet anytime. But he took the name of Tesla. I just always thought that was weird where he's like, I'm Elon, but I'm calling my company Tesla. And it has to do with electricity. And I thought that was funny because Tesla was like, hey man, I can give electricity to everybody on the planet for free. And they were like, oh no. And so they blackballed Tesla, Nikola Tesla. They basically shadow banned him. And the entire machine of forward progress backed Thomas Edison. And so it is ironic that now the richest man on the planet, whose net worth jumped from like 20 billion 2 years ago before the pandemic, is now worth like 200, 300 billion. And he took the name of the guy who was going to give everybody electricity for free. That is wild and crazy. Okay, so now let's get to the very, very, very interesting point that I've heard astrologers talk about all year, some of them, a few of them, and that we have a lunar eclipse coming up on the 18th and the 19th. And here's the deal about this one. It will be happening apparently right over Algol, the demon star. Yeah, there's a star in the sky. Apparently, for thousands of years, people have been like, hey, have you seen that star up there? It is the demon star Algol. And it's over by Perseus. And I'm forgetting a lot of information. It's by the head of Medusa. And so, for thousands of years, they've called it the demon star. And I definitely believe in like giving things energy. That like the more people talk about, or it's technically observational physics, the more you observe something, you change it, and the more belief you put into something, the more miracle energy that you create, for lack of a better term. And so you are having a partial lunar eclipse over the demon star. And so for a while, some of the people have said, hey, really bad shit is going to happen around that eclipse. And so at the start of 2020, one of the biggest warnings I put out, I told everybody for like a year in advance, like life was going to change when the Pluto-Saturn conjunction happened, that like the world as we know it was going to fucking change forever. And it did. And so I don't know how to, that's what like, I'm not super dooming this one up. Oh my God, thank you. Sunlight, Starlight, Angel. Hey, God bless you. God bless y'all. Yeah, I'm having a fundraiser to keep THORnews up and running because it has been a giant narrative battle for like the last 6 years. I don't know. It was like YouTube was super fun from like 2012 until like the first half of 2015, YouTube was a fun place. Even the truth community was pretty much a fun, much cooler place. And then it just became this battle to be the king of the truth community, or the battle to be the number one gang in the truth community. Dude, I don't even fucking know. And so I thank you, thank you, thank you. And it has been just a complete, utter battle to even stay here to make it to my 9-year anniversary. And like I said, everybody in the truth community bet we were going to some grand solar minimum. And I was like, nuh-uh, you guys don't know what the sun is going to do. Man, I bet the sun is going to be really strong this solar cycle, because that is what we need, man. And so, like, every day now we're getting like, oh my God, there are 5 sunspots. Or, oh, there's another coronal mass ejection headed towards Earth, another geomagnetic storm. But somehow, those same people keep doing it with a straight face, like, oh yeah, that fits right into the data we were talking about. And I wouldn't harp on them so much, but it's like they actively fuck with my shit. And have been trying to maintain superiority like this is fucking American Idol and there can be only one. Which is gosh dang anti-American. Alright, that's another thing before I get back to the Algol star. Look, bro, I get it. Everybody's tired of the plague. Everybody's tired of the pandemic. Everybody's tired of theories. Everybody's tired of vaccines and mandates. I get it. But my whole theory has always been this shit will be gone by the spring of 2022. So hang on until then. And no, winters are not going to be fun during a fucking pandemic. And that, look, they're not going to shut anything down in the USA. You know, during the mid-Delta virus peak, they didn't shut anything down. They didn't lock anybody down. Hell, they didn't even make kids wear masks in half the states. So we've gotten pretty whiny and bitchy and gossipy as a fucking collective. And so my whole theory is that, like, remember, I'm pro-choice. So vaccinated, unvaccinated, dude, let us just stay cool, put our head down, do what's necessary to get to the spring. And that has been a date that I've been consistent with y'all on since it started, and I have not wavered. And so, yeah, the winter's going to be weird, and there's no reason to argue with anybody about anything concerning fucking vaccines or the virus. Let's just make it through, okay? All right. And like I've said before, I know people who died from the virus. I got it. I have a version of long COVID I wish I didn't have. So I'm not going to waste any breath arguing with anyone about whether or not it's fucking real. You know, now I feel like, then I would feel like I'm being Alex Jones trolled. Anyway, so, but I'm just saying, it's like anytime I mention, oh, hey, China and Russia locked down. People are like, shut up, stop spreading propaganda. That's all bullshit. Like, man, no, it's not. Russia really fucking locked down. China really had 30,000 people in Disneyland and then just locked everybody in Disneyland for a week. And that's just like, oh. I wrote this movie a decade ago called Ace River. And it was based on... Anyway, so let's get back to the how crazy will it get? Well, there's going to be a lunar eclipse over the Demon Star in November. On the, the 18th, 19th. And so everybody, a lot of people are making predictions that crazy shit is going to happen. Rich people could die. Poor people could die. That, like, it's definitely a zone where, hey, like I've said, the main things will, like, let's put them all on the chart. The 4 areas to watch over the next 2 months. Just to see. Was it bullshit? Was it not bullshit? Was there anything there? You have the 4th, 5th new moon. And then on the 10th, you have the Mars square Saturn, the 10th. And then on the 18th and 19th, you have the lunar eclipse with the demon star Algol. And Pluto and Eris are still floating around a bunch of this shit. And then on Christmas Eve, you have the 3rd of 3, Saturn conjunct Uranus. And we know for a fact that like 99% sure that shit is legit. Because the first one in 2021, we had the February storm. The second one in June, July, we had the giant heat wave. And then, so, dude, almost to the date, that shit called it correct. And so, yeah, we have a giant major storm, super possible clusterfuck coming on Christmas Eve. And that's, as a Christian, it's part, I love Christmas, dude. It's my favorite day of the year. No matter what's happening, there's always a moment or a couple hours where on Christmas Day, if you have empathy, that energy is the best. Where like you can just kind of feel peace on earth for like 2 or 3 hours and it feels wonderful. And every single year, I have found that 2 or 3 hour chunk of what feels like Jesus Christ magic to me. Of like, this is part of the goal. And this is part of the reason why on YouTube, I ended up being your planetary defense commander. I wasn't going after fame or fortune or glory or Bitcoin. What I was going after is uniting the people and us getting to a place where we live without war and we are all brother and sister, one earth family. That like we definitely have the tools to stop warring with each other. And so I am and have always been a pro peace channel. And that is the goal. Will I see it in my lifetime? It's possible. But I do believe that it will happen on earth. Like there was a 200-year period of peace in Rome. Rome went like 200 years without fighting amongst all the territories and all the people and all, like, they had 200 years of peace in Rome. So like if you have 200 years of peace in Rome, why can't you have 200 years of peace in America or on earth? Like it is totally possible. And if people tell you that it is not possible, they're trying to sell you something. That's my belief. You're allowed to believe whatever you want to believe. Man, there are so many like semi-controversial topics that I want to mention. Oh, and it's the 1 year anniversary of the presidential election. So cheers for surviving, everybody. I'm drinking water tonight because I'm broke. And then February 20th-ish, you have the 1 year Plutonian American anniversary, where Pluto is exactly will be at the same spot it was when America was founded. And so supposedly that's going to be a big deal. And so that means if everything is correct, November, December, January, and February is super transformational. That what we know and look upon the world now may change in many ways just in the next 100 days. In the last video I did, I don't know, I talked about how there was a big story about how the USA put some spy groups on the blacklist, which was a huge deal. And nobody's really talked about it, and can be what is a very uncomfortable subject to talk about. I don't know, but I'm just saying that definitely the pandemic plague has stressed everybody out, worn everybody out. Everybody's on their own last nerve. Everybody's low patience. And, dude, the level of greed that I have seen in the last 2 years is greater than any shit I've ever seen in my entire life. All right, so let's get back to the demon storm. Now, there was a theory that someone had said that one of the things about the algal lunar eclipse, eclipsing the demon star, someone said something about the fact that some people who in their own ways sell their soul to the devil or a demon, that like they're signing a contract, making a deal. And so one of the interesting theories about it was that during this time that some of the people who had made major deals with the devil could be getting their contract revoked, and that they will not survive much longer. So that like some bad guys would be taken out of the mix. And that is a very, very interesting theory. Smoke if you got them. And I believe in God. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And that I believe in justice and balance. And that like dickheads, they be dickhead for so long, and they be bullies for so long, but eventually it catches up with them. I'm not a nihilist, dude. I definitely believe in good guys and good women. I definitely believe in God and guiding protective forces. And so we've watched, you know, people take advantage of how horrible the last 2 years have been on both sides of the fucking aisle, man. And I hate to inform you, there are definitely super rich people out there who don't give a shit about politics, but they also use politics as like a weapon to like just stir you up. Um, and so, oh, another thing that I would like to mention is that we saw the big deal. Like I've talked about the whole thing about Jupiter and Saturn going right past Pluto. And remember, Jupiter and Saturn lined up together right after they passed Pluto, right after they left Capricorn. They literally, at the very last degree of Capricorn into the Aquarius, they lined up in the sky. The odds of that happening are so giant, but it did. I mean, it happens. It happened, but it just happens. It's a very rare occasion, and so that was a big deal, and so you have Saturn going through Aquarius, and then you have Jupiter relative to Earth going through Aquarius, and so the Capricorn energy changed, and then we have been in Aquarius, and Aquarius is like technology. Aquarius is the future. And so, whereas we were sold that the age of Aquarius would be all about hippies and love and music and making out and flowers and Mother Nature, we no, that no, that is not. It was going to be like Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg and the Google guys and Elon Musk, and it was going to be Silicon Valley tech bro takeover. It was like you had oil guys and banker guys kind of be in power for 100 years. All of a sudden, the super tech bros were now kings of fuck shit mountain, or whatever you want to call it. And so, during that time of Aquarius, the future, you've had Saturn there and Jupiter there. And so, like I said, Saturn is a very restrictive energy, and Jupiter is a very expansive energy. And so Jupiter went relative to Earth, went left Aquarius for like 3 weeks, a month. I don't know. It was in May, and it was so fantastic. I loved that energy so much. And Neptune is also in Pisces. But then Jupiter, relative to Earth, retrograded back into Aquarius. And that happened July 28th. And that was when I was like, look, guys, Bitcoin will go back up and the cryptocurrencies will skyrocket again. and the coronavirus will become a big fucking problem again. And you will see lockdowns come back. They didn't come back to the USA, but like I said, they're coming back across planet in different spots. And so like we have seen the Jupiter energy has just been poor, like, so in theory Jupiter is giving like so many power-ups and so much luck to those deeply ensconced in technology. So your hackers are getting power-ups, your crypto guys are getting power-ups, your internet, like all the tech bros are super getting power-ups and have been. But seasons change. And so Jupiter goes into Pisces to stay there and will not be back in Aquarius for like 11 more years. That happens on December 28th. And let me tell you, I have been counting the minutes. Another thing that's been so crazy to me is that like Jupiter in 2020, it went direct over Pluto, and then it retrograded back over Pluto, and then it went direct again over Pluto 3 times. I'm amazed that I survived that. Thank you to Asteroid Fight Club, Jesus Christ, and God, and my family, and my friends. Can't believe I survived that shit. Anywho, this year, Jupiter, like I said, went direct in Aquarius, and then went into Pisces for a bit, and then it retrograded back into Aquarius, and then went direct again. And that, so Jupiter's kind of, relative to Earth in Aquarius, been at the same energetic spot for like 38 days. And it'll be there 40 days, and it'll move out of the 22nd degree of Capricorn on the 7th. And so we've been stuck in the same energy for almost 40 fucking days, where it's like all Zuckerberg all the time, or it's all Elon all the time, or it's all crypto all the time, or it's all even oil all the time. It's been a weird energetic version of Groundhog Day. And I'm more of a people person, bro. So my skirt does not get blown up by, the fact that some 100th coin is up 3,000%. And like I said, they can hack into my phone, bro. They can hack into my, like, the things they do with my YouTube channel to where, that, like, I can't get over 100 live viewers at once, even though I have 55,000 subscribers. The fact that I've been stuck at 55,000 subscribers for years now. The fact that it's very hard for me to even break 1,000 views, no matter what video I put out, how fast, how quick, how good. That, like, there's been a technological total dominance. And so if they can dominate and siphon and do whatever they want to my YouTube channel, dude, they can do the same shit to your cryptocurrencies. There's no one protecting you. There's no real SEC watching over you. There are no, like, cryptocurrency police. There's no cryptocurrency FBI. There's no cryptocurrency CIA. And one of the biggest known things is that the stable coins, the backup cryptocurrency, only have like 3 to 6% of dollars or things that would equate to dollars backing it. And the rest is all kind of like foo-foo paper or Chinese offshore bonds. And that at some point, that bubble is probably going to be popped. And I've told y'all it's going to be popped at the end of, like, by the end of December. You will watch them say, hey, we've decided to kind of take away the printing press from the tech bros as best we can. Cryptocurrency's not going away. It will always be here. But it will not have this free reign that it's had. I don't think. And so no matter what, the next 100 days are going to be super interesting, fascinating. But I still believe that, like, when Jupiter goes into Pisces and then Jupiter will go into Aries after that, that we will have better days. This Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn run of through Capricorn and then Aquarius has been brutal. Without a doubt, without question, it has been brutal. And yet, death has been around, man. if you spend any energy arguing that more people haven't died than normal, then wow, you've just been wasting your time in a really weird way. So what are we in? 45, 35 minutes now? Yeah, man, that I do not know how crazy November is going to get, but I've laid out a lot of the reasons or the energy behind why people think this could be the worst month of the year. And technically, it's all relative, you know? But I would say collectively, January and February sucked of this year. And so that's that. But what I'm saying is that, like, with one of the big points being the Christmas Eve spirit, I have like a very John McClane outlook to it that I believe no matter what happens, somehow I will find that bubble pocket of super Jesus Christ, yay, Christmas, life is magic energy. And that Christ was a Prince of Peace. And so at the end of the day, I've always said teamwork. That the whole man versus man war in oil is very cavemanish, bro. And and sure, you know, I've been Planetary Defense Commander for 7.5 years and doing THORnews for 9 years, and definitely doesn't feel like we're closer now than we were when I started. But I'm not giving up. I'm not a type of person that gives up. You know, it's like my YouTube channel. All the data would suggest that I should have quit. That I will probably, if things continue the way it is, I'll never be able to make a reasonable amount of money. I'll never be able to have stability. I'll never be able to have even enough money to buy a dog if I continue this way, because everything is geared towards, like, you know, that what it is that if you want to have a healthy, solid living and a wife on YouTube, you got to be selling people a grand fucking solar minimum. No matter how many sunspots are on the sun, no matter how many solar flares there are. You know, I saw a thing that said the sun drives the climate. Yeah, well, the sun has been super strong for the last 12 months, much stronger than most people predicted. So does that mean that we're going to see warmer futures? And I don't, like most of the projections through November and possibly into December are that it's going to be much warmer on average than usual. But the videos I see are like, oh no, bro, we're going into the coldest winter anyone has ever known. And it'll remind you, fucking mini ice age is not one fucking winter season. Mini ice age, it's really cold throughout most of the seasons. But I mean, it goes back to that thing where, you know, that like they had hundreds of people convinced that John F. Kennedy Jr. was going to show back up and then put Trump on the seat of heaven or some shit. And in my own Dallas City, you had everybody show up at the grassy knoll waiting for the return of John F. Kennedy Jr. So yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. To me personally, to you personally, in the world, but I do know that it's gonna get crazier. The relations between the United States and Russia, the United States and China, the United States and the crypto bros, like even to like I said, when they blacklisted two spy agencies from Israel, that was I follow a bunch of defense people on Twitter, and a bunch of defense people were like, "This is major. This is major. This is a huge story. This is major. This is major." I really haven't heard anybody talk about it, but yeah, it seems major. So that means now that like we have some issue with parts of, and then France is still being like, "Look, man, we are really pissed off about the submarine deal." We're over like 6 weeks later, and France is still very upset about the submarine deal that America got from them. And so, another thing that is interesting is that the new moon happens during the Diwali Festival of Lights. And so I thank the sun for giving us a natural festival of lights during the Festival of Lights. Light is cool, bro. And that's another thing. Like, I don't know if think about it. If we're like 500 years ago, or 1,000 years ago, or 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, if you had a group of dudes who were running around who spent 6 years telling all the villagers everywhere, going from continent to continent in the year zero, that the sun is going to sleep. It's going to be a grand solar sleep coming. And then a mini ice age will follow. You know, that like, I don't know, at some point, going around telling falsehoods about what the sun is going to do and then being wrong. I don't know if that's karma or what, but I'm just, seems like that what may have been beneficial or profitable for them at one point in time, eventually it looks like the gas is running out on that trick. But you'll still get people who'll be like, yeah, no, this is the coldest fucking winter ever. I can barely even see the sun in the sky. Anywho, so yeah, how bad will it get? Will THORnews survive? If you'd like to contribute or donate, I would love letters for my 9th anniversary if you feel so inclined and appreciate. Who knows what's going to happen, man? I've been hanging out by my fingernails, and my hackers and have just been getting more and more upset, more and more tantrumy, and more the screws continue to tighten, and my numbers continue to go down no matter what I do or how good I do it. So I'm going to try to enjoy and appreciate every moment I still have at THORnews and as your Planetary Defense Commander. And I just can't fucking believe that, like, look, we knew the plague started in 2020. We knew that winter was going to be bad last year. We know that this winter is not going to be the funnest winter ever. You know you got supply chain issues. You know you got shit we got to deal with that, we're going into this winter probably 50 times clumsier than I would have ever imagined. Like, I just can't believe how it's almost like all the different scenarios. It's like every time we pick, like, we're going to do the worst fucking thing possible. And then we're just going to blame the politicians. We're going to blame. That's another thing, man. That, like, remember the whole thing about last year? They're like, holy crap, Joe Biden stole the fucking election. He supposedly stole it when Trump was in office. Trump was a head dude. And they're like, oh, Biden stole it. And then they had a couple elections yesterday, and that some dude in Virginia won in a surprise. Like, oh my God, people are sick of the Democrats already. And remember, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. That usually if there's a Republican president, I get pushed to the left a little, and then when there's a Democrat president, I get pushed to the right, because both sides just are fucking up big time. And politics overall is just bullshit that they sell to the non-billionaires, man. That it is like Hollywood for ugly people. And it's no fun. And it's all like gossip and hearsay. Anyway, I'm just saying that, like, how come they didn't steal that fucking election? Did they, like, stop? I don't know. Just like, Trump lost because he kept insisting the virus would just go away. China locked down, Russia locked down, Tonga locked down this week. Clearly, it still has not fucking gone away. Now, you can live in your QAnon world if you want, and you can say we're in the worst ice age ever, and you can say that the sun's gone to sleep, and you can say that, like, John F. Kennedy Jr. coming out of the clouds. But it's not true. Let me put, but if I can, and I don't want to offend anyone, but here's the deal. like I said, I try to stay in the middle as much as I can, and that Democrats always go too far, Republicans always go too far, and so like everybody's like, oh my God, we lost the giant race in Virginia. How could this have happened? And I was like, well, maybe it's because you guys spent an entire month talking about how dumb Dave Chappelle was. The basic essence, if I had to boil it down, his entire 50-minute stand-up act and all of his stand-up acts, I've seen them all multiple times. He was basically saying that, I'm paraphrasing, that at the end of the day, if you have a penis, you're a man, and if you have a vagina, you're a woman. He still respects you, and that it is within your he's okay with whatever consensual adults want to do amongst themselves, but that if you have a penis, you're a man. If you have a vagina, you're a woman. And so that seemed to be the whole point of it all. And that so for the last month, the Democrats were tried to vilify and misrepresent, in my opinion, what Dave Chappelle was saying. And so that is the whole. And look, like I said, dude, as your planetary, I am all for consensual adults. Whatever, man, it's your right, man. It's bro, if you want to dress up as say you're a man, say you're a woman, say you're black, say you're whatever, it's your thing. I go around saying I'm Planetary Defense Commander. I go around saying I'm Star Lord New Thor 7. I don't need everybody to respect that. I mean, I don't need every single person in America to be like, I agree, he is Planetary Defense Commander. I agree, he's a Star Lord. And so and it's the most nuanced of discussion. And that offends people or polarizes people either way. And I still think it's suspect that out of 5 stand-up acts that he did in 5 years for a $40 million deal, he did his whole, mostly stand-up act on the LGBTQ community. And I almost think that the Let's Go Brandon is kind of like the Republicans' way of saying we're okay with the lesbians, we're okay with the bisexuals, we're okay with the gays, we're a little shaky on the queers, and we're not feeling so hot about the transgenders. So that's what Let's Go Brandon really is. It's Republicans subversively being all right, we are okay with everybody, but except for the last 2 we're still having problems with. And like I said, at no point in time should anybody be bullied. Should anybody be beaten up or raped or murdered? I am against that, whether it be for transgenders or women or even men. There, I said it. Oh, that's another thing. That the Democratic Party really has become to where everybody's protected, but that they fucking hate all white men, and that white men are the cause of every evil on the planet. You can believe that's true or not. It's your belief system. But what I'm saying is the Democrats, I believe, beat Trump even though they used that strategy. But now that Trump is gone, that strategy ain't gonna work no more. So just hating, saying whatever you want to about white people, just the pendulum swing, to where for a couple hundred years in America, the white guys were enslaving and raping and being very horrible. But it seemed, but then the pendulum swung back. We're fuck no, people are totally equal, whether you're black, white, Asian, gay, straight. And so it swung back to where we're all equal. We're all kind of in this together. And then, like I said, it's gone to the point to where you have the whole media spending an entire month talking about the transgender issue. No matter what's happening, volcanoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, that power grid collapses. And it's like I'm saying, I fully support if people want to, whether have surgery, not have the surgery, be I'm a woman now. That is what my natural spirit animal. That okay, I'm not arguing with you in any way, What I'm saying, to get everyone in America to be like, I'm 100% comfortable with that at all times, in any way, that's going to be a difficult situation. It's almost like even racism. Look, racism is dumb. Racism is horrible. Like, to me, you are one of like, that is one of the lowest mentalities you can have. If you judge a people entirely by their race in any way, shape, or form, and that is how you get your self value, that is like, you are so low vibration that you are barely above a caveman to me. And that you aren't many steps out of the 1500s, the thousands, the whatever. That somehow you just couldn't grow as a human being. Like I mentioned before, Jimi Hendrix is my favorite American of all time. One of the coolest dudes that ever walked the planet. So, race, and I've never been married. Thank you, Andrea. You're amazing. Never been married. Never had kids. I'd like to someday. And that I'm open as long as it's the right woman. Sidebar. So Taylor Swift's going to be on SNL in like 10 days. And she's re-releasing all of her albums. So she's re-releasing this album, I don't know, it came out in 2008-ish. And there's one song where she's like, say you'll remember me. I'm like, duh, you're the last person to fool around with. But every time I say that, she still gets upset. And I think she blames me for Scooter buying her 6 albums still. Shit is weird. But yeah, dude, I would like to have a truce with fucking Ben and GSM. I'd like to have a fucking truce with Taylor. I would like to have a better fucking future. I don't know how everybody can just hold fucking grudges all the time. But I do think it is weird that if like you have power and you have money to like pick on people who don't have the resources you do. I can't even imagine that. I can't even fathom that. And to do it consistently. That's crazy balls, man. And one thing is that like at doing THORnews for so long, I've gotten hundreds of thousands of comments. I've had some of the worst shit said to me, and it just rolls off my back, dude. That like people can say whatever the fuck they want to. I don't give a shit. Like if they went on the trying to hurt my feelings, man, I'm Planetary Defense Commander. The world has not collapsed. That like you can try to hurt my feelings and be angry at me all you want. I love you. I respect you. I forgive you. I hope you forgive me for any mistakes I've made. Like I still consider you my brother, and God loves you too. So, but that, like, I don't know, but I've learned that people, you can say one thing, and then they can hate you for the rest of their life just because you said the wrong thing to them. And I've definitely talked shit, my fair share of talking shit. I apologize for that. That is my over ego at times, needing to be like, poo, 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 poo. Sometimes I've gotten some decent shots in there. Anywho. Yeah, so that was the whole, like, but you don't hear anybody in the media saying that like, before the election, the overall media issue became Dave Chappelle. Like, you were pretty much voting for Dave Chappelle, or you were voting for transgender. Nobody's going to say that, but that's pretty much what it came down to. And so, like, 64% voted for Dave Chappelle, man. And I still think that there's a decent chance that the presidential election in 2024 is going to be Matthew McConaughey versus Joe Rogan, which I think would be kind of cool. I mean, let me say again that no matter what, who runs for president in 2024, it would just be nice to have someone who in their 50s, even early 60s, that the baby boomers have been in office or had stranglehold on power for a long time, and I'm 49 now, man. And then I've been waiting, like, when is the baby boomers ever gonna like kind of hand over the keys to the country and be like, all right, maybe you guys will do a better job. And so at this point, it's gonna be really hard for me to get excited about any type of presidential candidate at all, let alone someone who really doesn't know how to work a smartphone well, or, you know, understands all the technological aspects that we have to deal with today. That is another major point, that politicians are like both sides are like 30 years behind the tech curve. And so none of them even know how to really deal with the ransomware, the the hackers, the all the shit that comes along with the big technology push. They are so out of date, dude. They have no idea what they're doing, kind of, when it comes to that shit. And so we definitely need people, more people from the generations coming up, as opposed to the one that has been there forever in power. I don't mean that to offend anybody. These are all my opinions and my beliefs on these subjects. So I thank everybody for listening. And I like having my own opinion, dude. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, that's what, like, as a fellow Texan, we don't have to agree on everything. Like I said, the basic rights of, like, don't murder, don't rape, don't kill, don't molest children. Those are the very basics. And, you know, when we would or should or could throw don't steal in there, but man, that to me, that whole issue is it, one of one of the they used to have a thing where in the oil fields you had to buy the land over the oil field to own the oil, and then when they figured out GPS, they figured out a way to actually drill the pipes sideways or down or up, so you could own land 1,000 miles that way if you could drill into their. They're like, technically you just own the. I don't know. I'm just saying that they would people were like, if you look at, and the whole line between stealing and not stealing has become so muddled, and we're in a plutocracy, and definitely you legally it's not like the rich aren't stealing from us, but they are seem to be pushing every single boundary they can in the whole race to keep up with the Joneses. That it's a weird big race to see who can be the richest man or woman on the planet. And and then there's like Queen Elizabeth, who's like 95 years old and has been around for a long time. Some people have guessed or estimated there will be some type of transition of power after that happens. But like I've said before, I give the woman credit. She's, well, I don't know. I'm just not a Queen Elizabeth hater. But remember, I'm not a hater. Yeah, Hitler was an evil dick, and I'm glad they took him out. Oh, but speaking of that whole, like we've talked about, the weirdest shit of it all is the Operation Paperclip. It's like the stuff they never really talk about, no matter what the situation is. The Hubble's down, supposedly. And that space agencies have been extra weird since Operation Paperclip. And so now it's a billionaire's playground. We can't even keep our power grids on. Okay, I love you guys. I'll probably be back again tomorrow. But yeah, thank you all, and that we don't have to agree. But that's all. I'm like this whole, just saying, everybody get ready, because I definitely think the next 4 months are going to be really weird and very transformational. And look, like the core of my Christianity is love and forgiveness. That even all the whatever people do to me, I always forgive them, and then I always have to put it in God and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit's hands for it all to work out. And it has so far for me. Granted, the last few years not been the funnest of my life, and sure, the number one thing I wanted the most was a good wife. But hey, life's not over yet, and I still, I don't know, I still feel like the luckiest man on the planet because everybody's been going through something over the last 2 years. I don't think anyone has had the best time of their life ever consistently over the last 2 years. It's all been rough, but just, yeah, recognize that like this is the to me in my opinion as far as all the really bad crap, this is the last big hurdle the next 4 or 5 months. And then on my theory, and it's not only mine, that like shit gets really bad during solar minimums, but then things can improve during solar maximums. And that is one of the reasons I bet on the sun being a very strong solar cycle because we needed it. And just like Jesus has always provided for me in my moment of need, I believe the sun is an excellent metaphor for Jesus Christ. That's why I'm like a Christian solar scientist. And that's another thing is how like a lot of astronomers or scientists are atheists. So there's that whole pushback about just even being a Christian astronomer scientist is a very strange mix. Like everything is so compartmentalized and you have to fit into and that ain't me, dude. Anyway. But yeah, so it's all wild and I hope I made some good points. I do not know how wild November is going to be. Like I said, some people have predicted it's going to be very bad. Personally, I do not get the sense it is going to be worse than January and February. Those months were not great. Oh, and for me physically, I walked 4 miles a day on average last month, so my health is getting a lot better. Although, like 2 or 3 days ago, I got a piece of glass in my foot because I broke a candle. Um, so I haven't been walking the last few days because it hurts with glass in your foot. But I don't know. Like I said, I still believe that things will get better in the spring. And so hang on for that and hang on for a weird Christmas. But at the end of whatever comes our way, you, we should be able to find the magic in the moment. That remember when we had the big storm in February? I went without power for like 3 days, 3.5, like it would kind of come on for a couple hours and then go off. So it was freezing. There was no power. It was snowing. And during that, the majority of the time, I had a blast. Though at that time, a lot of it was me playing guitar in the dark, trying to write love songs to Selena Gomez. Hey, man, I guess, we do whatever it takes to get us through those times. I hear she's dating Captain America, and I wish them nothing but the best. They're definitely a cute couple. All right, everybody stay cool. I love you. I appreciate you. I will continue to do what I do. I still expect that shit is going to be weird. The stronger the sun gets and the warmer this winter is, I still think I'll be dealing with issues, but hopefully we will make it through. But I want to say thank you. Yeah, definitely trying to put out the warning like, hey, everybody, stock up, get a year's worth of food. Like, who the fuck does that? I know some people do. There are good preppers, hardcore preppers. There are people who've been ready for this for 10 years, 20 years. That has not been me. A lot of things to prep, you have to have money. And so, but if you can, definitely stock up on some foods, batteries, and just to have some type of a plan. Because I still think there's at least a big earthquake or volcano lingering in the next couple months. I would guess. Nobody knows for sure, but like today, that there was one of the volcanoes in the volcano range by Costa Rica erupted, and so in the grand narratives of things, I don't know if the big storm in Christmas is going to be in the United States. You don't know where that thing is going to be. But if it was, I would say the West Coast needs to watch out for volcano eruption, including California, or earthquake. I know things are crazy, but hang in there. Stay cool. I appreciate you. God bless you. May you have a fantastic Thanksgiving. Just find something you're thankful for, and I will do the same. And I'll talk to you soon. Stay cool, and I will try to go on a diet eventually, so I will be more cherrylicious in your view monitors or whatever. So yeah, when the pandemic ends, I definitely want to start dating again. But like I said, I know I've heard a couple women say, if you don't have 2 Bitcoin, I would not date you. So that would rule me out right now, which is lame because I'm nice and I'm caring and I like to take care of people and I'm funny and I'm never boring and I'm good on road trips. Plus, I got skills. Um, and I'm really good at kissing. All right, stay cool.